it's really interesting to see Jordan Williams and Mickey Gall on the main card when we have the two fights I kind of spoke about on the prelims that should really see the main card with Yanez and Costa and then Allen and Puna. It's just really surprising that those are the prelims and this one's on the main card. But, you got Jordan Williams, who's always exciting, Dana White Contender Series alum. He's had interesting stints. He's got the no contest in the first one, but then Gregor Rodriguez in that second Dana White Contender Series fight, right? Finished him pretty easily. And Rodriguez ended up going on to win the LFA title, defended it, and then comes into the UFC and finishes Dusko Todorovic. So I think that he really should consider that probably his toughest fight so far, even with being in the UFC. I think the Imavov fight just had a lot less riding on it, right? He got his contract and he's fighting a guy who's a bit more of an up-and-comer, and you really have to give him all the credit in the world for trying to do his best in that fight. I thought that Imavov, I think I said it earlier, was just a more technical striker, and he avoided those brawling situations. The only person ever finished Jordan Williams via strikes in a true knockout way was Dwight Grant, who's also a UFC fighter, and a lot of that indiscipline stuff that we always talk about, right? Getting into those brawling situations, but not really keeping those hands where they need to be and the chin tucked. But he got caught fair and square by a guy who seems to catch people a lot like Grant. But now we go on to the Mickey Gall side, and there's quite a little bit to kind of unload with him, right? You got the Mike Perry fight, which is kind of the one we're going to dissect the most. But think about the start of his career, right? He went 4-0. He's got guys like Mike Jackson under his belt. And then the big ones, I don't know what about him that the UFC absolutely loves so much, but he was definitely doing a lot of talking. The CM Punk fight was probably just a throwaway to get CM Punk the victory. And then he ends up being another legend killer with Sage Northcutt right after that. It's just a great start to his career, and I think that that's what made Mickey Gall kind of a weird household name, right? It only took him one fight outside the UFC to get there. Starts off 4-0, then loses to Randy Brown, beats George Sullivan, then loses Diego Sanchez. So for me, you're looking at the three losses on his pro career, and they're all guys who've been ranked at some point or another with the UFC, and Brown, Sanchez, and Mike Perry. So with that Mike Perry fight, I really want to kind of dissect that a bit, because not only was it the beautiful fight from the pandemic that we saw Mike Perry kind of roll with his baby mom as the corner and coaching staff, but Mickey Gall had a lot of work to do coming out of that fight. I think that his cardio was shot. Mike Perry was attacking the body really well and used leg kicks to get that done. And then by the second round, Perry was just really landing at will. Right hand was coming over the top pretty easily. Being the shorter fighter, he seemed to have absolutely no issues there, which kind of makes you really concerned about Mickey Gall's striking game. Because the cool thing about him was in the beginning of the fight, it looked like he was trying to land some big shots. Wasn't really a combo guy, but he had the big kicks and the big punches trying to kind of throw Perry off of his striking game. But then slowly but surely, he found his way to the ground. Mike Perry had his back. And it's just one of those situations where you just saw a fighter really start to kind of wilt a little bit under the pressure, under the damage that he was taking. And in this case, that's just not what you want to do against a guy like Jordan Williams, because unless you can finish Jordan, he is pushing and pushing and pushing. And so for me, when you're thinking about Mickey Gall, it's one of those things where all those body shots that he was landing on Mike Perry, stick to that. I think those kicks and all of that type of rangy stuff can help him get to the point where he can start looking for takedowns and kind of work his BJJ a bit more. Because let's be real, Mickey Gall, as much as he wants to learn the striking and be a big finisher, I think it's 5 of his 6 wins are all via rear naked choke. So to say that he enjoys the ground game would be a bit of an understatement, right? And I think that the striking game is very much an improving thing. And I don't know if Jordan Williams is the kind of guy you want to just go in and have an improving striking game against. I think Jordan's really going to be looking for those finishes. And against a 6-3 UFC fighter like Mickey Gall, who seems to have that underrated experience under his belt, I just think that there's very good opportunities in terms of path to victory for Mickey Gall to take this fight to the ground. I think that Jordan Williams is going to be trying to defend that a lot, but he also pushes forward like crazy and uses a lot of his energy to kind of just get in your face and throw big boxing combos. And so if Mickey Gall can use footwork and kicks and even try to wrap him up in some clinch work to try and work this against the fence and get it to the ground, I think Mickey Gall has a pretty easy path to victory there. But Jordan Williams proved to be a good scrambler against Imavov, and he even got Imavov a bit tired in that fight. And I think it was one of those things where if you're Nasruddin Imavov, you're thinking to yourself, like, what do I have to do to put this guy away? I think that Dwight Grant landed the most perfect punch, and he's got power in his hands, right? So for me, looking at Mickey Gall's record, a fighter that's never knocked anybody out, it kind of tells me that Jordan Williams and him have this very, very beautiful chess match that's going to unfold. And like I said, if Mickey Gall can't put up a fight on the feet, he's got to get it to the ground, and vice versa. If you're, Jordan Williams, man, you want to get into that boxing range, walk through those kicks, make sure you can land big, and that scrambling ability, like I said, with that takedown defense, I mean, it's nothing to write home about, but I also think it might be enough to keep the fight where he needs it to be, which is on the feet, in boxing range, trying to land those big blows. I think that he's a very tough guy to put away, which makes it just such a smart decision for Mickey Gall to literally use his strikes to just get this to the ground. And so, you got the brawler, you got the submission guy. One guy's pretty good at scrambling. The other guy's really trying to get better with the striking game. But in that Perry fight, man, it was more so a lack of durability. And I'm going to be honest, it's always very obvious to see that when a BJJ guy is trying to be a better striker in a fight against a really good striker, he tends to wilt. It's not only the cardio aspect of just doing something like throwing so many punches, but your body's not exactly used to that. If you've been rolling with, purple belts, black belts, and blue belts for the last 10 years of your life, chances are a guy like Vieira, we saw him lose so badly in his first couple fights only because of that aspect of it. The Fluffy Hernandez was pretty much that. He got locked up in a submission because of the lack of durability and cardio. And so in this case with Mickey Gall, you got to avoid that. I think you need to keep some energy in you, especially on the feet, because if you don't, Jordan Williams will finish this fight. He's got power in his hands. He's got chin to go with it, which makes him just the prototypical push forward and back type of fighter. So without further ado, let's take a look at the lines. I really want to give the edge to Jordan Williams, and only because I think that his scrambling ability should be able to keep this fight standing, and his knockout power. I mean, we've seen Mickey Gall rocked quite a bit against good strikers, and I think it could be something to see with what Jordan Williams brings to the table. But on the flip side, I still think this is going to be close to a pick-em. The lines can't be very big, and I wouldn't be surprised if Mickey Gall could be a favorite. So let's take a look. Got them pulled up here. And there it is, right? Jordan Williams, the minus 200, it seems, with actually some places minus 250. So right now, Jordan Williams open at about a minus 250, and you can still get him around that minus 200, minus 225 range if that's your cup of tea. Mickey Gall, grappler, learning, striking type fighter, plus 175 opener, now in that plus 160, plus 170 range. I could see this line getting a lot closer, to be honest, because I don't think that Jordan Williams is the kind of guy that's just blowing people out of the water when it comes to striking. So for me, for there to be a durability factor as the, BJJ guy to then maybe work in some takedowns and really start to hone in on what you can do to him, I don't think a plus 175, plus 180 line is very deserving, but a lot of ways for Jordan Williams to come away with a victory, with Mickey Gall having to learn a lot in his time away to put up a fight in those areas. So very fun fight to kick off the main card. I still think that there's two fights of the prelims that should have been brought up, but hopefully the UFC knows what they're doing with this one, and let's get right into that next one, yeah?